Imagine holding a coin that has traveled through the forgotten corners of American history, a coin that witnessed the turning of a century and carried the weight of a nation preparing to step boldly into the modern world. The 1901 Barber Half Dollar is not just a piece of silver. It is a living echo of an America that was changing faster than anyone could imagine, and today you and I will dive deep into a journey so rich and detailed that you could turn this story into a full 2-hour documentary without looking anywhere else. The tale of the 1901 half dollar begins in a time when the United States was emerging from the remnants of the Gilded Age, a time when industry wealth and innovation were reshaping every city, every factory, and every mindset. And in the middle of this transformation stood Charles Barber, the chief engraver of the United States Mint, whose designs were about to become the face of the nations. Circulating silver coinage introduced in 1892, the Barber series carried a modern and elegant yet powerful look, and by 1901, this half dollar had already become a symbol of stability, strength, and national pride, struck in 90% silver and weighing 12.5 grams. This coin was more than money. It was a pocket-sized badge of America's growing confidence and influence. The 1901 half dollar was minted mainly in Philadelphia, and unlike its brothers at New Orleans or San Francisco, the Philadelphia issues had no mint mark on the reverse, giving them a slightly cleaner, uncluttered look that many collectors now admire. But the real beauty of the 1901 Barber half dollar lies in the world around it, in the events it silently lived through: the dawn of the automobile age, the rise of electricity in American homes, the expansion of the railroads, the speeches of presidents who would shape the 20th century, and the dreams of millions of immigrants stepping onto American soil, hoping for a future. This coin was exchanged in busy marketplaces, passed through the hands of travelers, merchants, sailors, factory workers, and families. It bought food, clothing, train tickets, and newspapers. It may have helped pay wages in steel mills or been dropped into the hands of a child lucky enough to hold silver in an age when a half dollar meant a great deal, and its artistic features spoke loudly of American identity. The obverse proudly carried liberty, wearing a Phrygian cap crowned with laurel, symbolizing both freedom and victory. Her profile strong and dignified, reflecting the spirit of a nation ready to lead the world. The reverse showcased the heraldic eagle clutching arrows and an olive branch, a message that America stood ready for war or peace depending on what destiny required. The motto, E pluribus unum, stitched the idea of unity across the coin, a reminder that from many states, cultures, and backgrounds, the United States was woven into one powerful union. The 1901 half dollar circulated heavily, and very few survived in high grade, which makes mint state examples extremely valuable today. The wear patterns on this coin can tell entire stories: a smoothed cheek of liberty, revealing decades of use of faded wing feather, showing how many pockets it lived. In a softened shield on the reverse, echoing every exchange, every business deal, every hand that held it. As the United States moved through the Spanish-American War aftermath, the technological boom, the rise of industry, and the ever-shifting global tides, thousands of these coins quietly fulfilled their purpose as the people who used them created history. Then came the decades when silver coinage slowly began disappearing from circulation, and the Barber half dollar retired, leaving behind an unrepeatable legacy, representing not only early 20th century coinage, but also the spirit of a nation in motion. Collectors today treasure the 1901 half dollar, not only for its rarity, but for its story. It is a time capsule, a beautifully struck silver witness to a period of innovation, resilience, and change. Owning one feels like holding a chapter of America's earliest modern era, a connection to real people, real hands, real lives, and real history. The 1901 Barber half dollar is more than a collectible. It is a symbol of American growth, strength, art, and identity. And that is why, when you study its details, its mintage, its design, and its journey, you realize that you are not just learning about a coin, You are learning about an entire era preserved forever in silver, and that is the adventure you will explore in depth for the next 2 hours as you bring the story of the 1901 half dollar to life for your viewers without pause, without limits, and without losing a single moment of the powerful history locked inside this extraordinary piece of American numismatic heritage. The deep journey of the 1901 half dollar. We step into the American world that shaped the life of this coin. A world full of factories, railroads, political shifts, and the rise of a national identity built on progress and determination. The year 1901 itself was monumental for the United States. It was a year of triumph, tragedy, and transition, a year that saw the passing of one president and the sudden rise of another. The tragic assassination of President William McKinley shook the entire nation, sending ripples of fear, curiosity, and change through every corner of America. People discussed the news in barbershops, saloons, markets, and busy streets, many with coins just like the 1901 half dollar in their pockets. The nation turned its eyes to a new leader, Theodore Roosevelt, whose bold leadership would redefine the country forever. And somewhere inside this shifting landscape, the 1901 half dollar quietly traveled from hand to hand, serving as a silent witness to everything unfolding. Americans in 1901 lived in a world powered by human effort trains, steam engines, and a growing web of industrial machinery. You could walk into any bustling city and hear the clang of metal, the whistle of locomotives, and the chatter of workers discussing wages, hours, and dreams for their families. And inside that world, a half dollar was not a small thing. It was meaningful money, a symbol of trust and a tool for survival. A worker could buy a full meal with it. A family could buy meat, bread, vegetables, and perhaps even save a little. A child receiving one would feel the weight of silver and the spark of possibility. The coin itself carried the vision of Charles Barber, whose career at the mint was shaped by pride, precision, and a constant push for perfection. He crafted a design meant to last, a design simple enough to strike millions of times, yet elegant enough to reflect national dignity. When you look at the profile of liberty on the obverse, you do not just see a face. You see the strength of a young nation. You see determination in the sharp lines of the jaw, ambition in the set of the eyes, and victory in the laurel wreath that rests on her head. This was America, stepping confidently into a new century, and the reverse, with its heraldic eagle spread wide, is more than art. It is a declaration. The arrows speak readiness. The olive branch speaks peace. And the shield over the eagle's chest speaks unity and protection. Together they form a timeless message. America will face the world with courage, fairness, and strength. The mintage of the 1901 half dollar tells its own story, with heavy circulation, reducing the survival rate of high-grade examples. Most of these coins lived rough lives, sliding across counters, resting in worn leather wallets, being dropped into savings jars, or used for daily commerce. The result is that a fully detailed bust of Liberty, or a sharp eagle on the reverse, is rare today, which adds even more excitement and mystery for collectors when a numismatist studies this coin. They look for every tiny detail remaining on its surface: the lines in Liberty's cap, the leaves in the laurel wreath, the feathers near the eagle's neck, the clarity of the motto, E pluribus unum, and the crispness of the stars. Each tiny mark tells a story, each scratch a memory, each worn patch a sign of life lived. And as the years rolled forward, America continued to grow. The Wright brothers prepared to bring powered flight into reality. Henry Ford was pushing closer toward the dream of affordable automobiles. Electricity was spreading, radios were beginning to whisper into homes. Imagine holding a piece of American history that has silently witnessed the end of the 19th century, the rise of the industrial age, and the transformation of a young nation into a global power. Now picture a coin minted in a year when America was preparing for war, expanding its influence and shaping its identity as a modern country. And that coin is the 1898 Barber Half Dollar, a piece that collectors today do not simply see as money, but as a living artifact, a relic that whispers stories, of political tension, national pride, and craftsmanship from a forgotten era. This is not just silver, this is history, frozen in metal. And in this video, we are going to dive so deep into the world of the 1898 half dollar that by the end of this journey, you will know every detail, every twist, every hidden fact, and every mystery behind one of the most fascinating coins in United States history. So sit back and imagine the world as it was in 1898, a nation standing on the edge of war factories, roaring cities, overcrowded ships moving across the oceans, and people carrying silver coins in their pockets that today would be worth small fortunes. This is the story of the 1898 Barber Half Dollar and the world it lived in. The year was 1898, and the United States was shifting from a quiet continental power to a nation ready to step onto the world stage. The Spanish-American War was just beginning, a conflict that would change the nation forever. And while politicians debated, newspapers shouted, and soldiers trained, ordinary Americans carried coins like the Barber Half Dollar to buy their bread, their newspapers, and their daily necessities. The mint was busy creating silver coins that embodied reliability, strength, and national identity. The Barber design, created by Charles Barber, the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint, was seen everywhere. The strong profile of liberty, the classical wreath, the heraldic eagle on the reverse, all of it spoke to a nation that wanted both tradition and confidence. When the 1898 half dollar was struck, it carried more than metal weight. It carried messages about American life. The New Orleans Mint, the Philadelphia Mint, and sometimes San Francisco were responsible for creating these coins, and although millions were produced, far fewer survived in high condition because these were working coins used every single day. The country was booming and people spent their money constantly, which meant heavy circulation, long wear, and the gradual fading of the fine details on Liberty's face and the eagle's feathers. This is what makes a high-grade 1898 half dollar so desirable today. Collectors hunt for sharp details, full rims, and clean surfaces because every flaw speaks to another person who once used that coin on a dusty street in 19th century America. Now imagine the minting process in 1898. No modern computers, no scanning tools, no laser engraving. Everything depended on skilled hands and precise craftsmanship. Charles Barber had created a design that was meant to be bold, durable, and not too fancy because these coins had to survive real everyday use. The coin dies were prepared with care. The blanks were punched in heavy presses, and each strike was a moment where molten force shaped silver into a national emblem. These coins would travel from city to city store, pocket to pocket. Every mark, every scratch, every tiny dent tells a chapter in its journey. But beyond minting, the real story lies in the world of 1898. Itself, America was rapidly changing. Immigrants were arriving in record numbers. Factories produced goods at speeds never seen before. Railroads linked the country from coast to coast, and new inventions such as the telephone, electricity, and modern machinery were transforming how people lived and worked. Yet the silver half dollar remained an anchor in this changing world. Its weight, its shine, its value gave people a sense of stability and trust. The Barber half dollar was more than currency. It was a symbol of everyday American life. As the Spanish-American War unfolded in 1898, coins like this paid for newspapers, reporting headlines of battles in Cuba and Manila. They passed through the hands of workers in steel factories, rail yards, and ship docks. They were carried by soldiers traveling south toward military camps and even found their way into the pockets of sailors on American warships. Silver was scarce in some regions, so the half dollar became especially important for transactions. Its solid feel and trustworthiness made it a favorite among the public. Collectors today look at the 1898 half dollar and see three key versions: the 1898 from Philadelphia with no mint mark, the 1898 O from New Orleans, and the far rarer high-grade examples that survived without damage. Each has a slightly different story because the mints themselves had unique histories. Philadelphia, the original mint of the country, produced the sharpest and most consistent strikes. New Orleans, with its humid climate and older machinery, often created coins with softer details and more issues, but that New Orleans Mint Mark O is precisely what some collectors find charming because it adds personality and history to the coin. When evaluating an 1898 half-dollar, experts study Liberty's hair, the ear, the laurel wreath, the shield on the eagle's chest, and especially the feathers on the wingtips. A strong strike shows crisp lines and deep texture, while a weak strike looks flat, washed out, or worn even when the coin has not seen heavy circulation. This makes grading barber coins especially challenging and adds to their mystique. Some collectors spend years searching for that one perfect example, that one coin with the perfect strike that seems almost frozen in time, as if it skipped the century of use that most of its brothers endured. The silver content of the 1898 half-dollar also tells an economic story. Each coin is composed of 90% silver and 10% copper, a composition that connected America's coinage to global silver markets. When silver prices rose or fell, it affected national policy and political debate. The late 19th century saw intense battles between supporters of silver and gold. The free silver movement dominated conversations leading up to the turn of the century, so when you hold an 1898 half-dollar, you are holding part of an economic conflict that shaped the future of American monetary policy. As the 20th century approached, the Barber design stayed in use but slowly fell out of favor. Critics said it lacked artistic beauty compared to European coins, and public demand grew for something more elegant. Eventually, the Barber series would be replaced by the Walking Liberty half-dollar in 1916, one of the most beautiful coins in American history. But the Barber series, including the 1898 issue, remains deeply respected for its strength, its historical connection, and its no-nonsense representation of American identity. In the world of coin collecting, the 1898 half-dollar sits in a special place. It is not impossibly rare, yet finding one in excellent condition is a challenge that excites collectors. Values can range from modest for worn pieces to extremely high for the few that survived in near-perfect condition. Because of age, circulation, and metal wear, most coins from that year show bruises, scratches, and softness in detail. But those imperfections are part of the charm. They tell the stories of countless hands that passed them on wooden counters, dusty general stores, train station ticket windows, and busy city streets. We explore deeper. Imagine the life of one single 1898 half-dollar. Maybe it was used by a farmer in rural Kansas, or a factory worker in Chicago, or a sailor traveling the Gulf Coast. Maybe it was dropped in a dirt road, picked up by a child, saved for a treat, or kept in a small leather purse for decades. Each transaction, each pocket, each life it touched added invisible fingerprints to its surface, until one day, a collector found it decades later, polished by time with its history etched into every line. The 1898 half-dollar is not just a coin, it is a storyteller. It is a survivor. It is a piece of a nation emerging from the 19th century into a new era of power, technology,